How's everyone doing? Have to talk a little bit about hypocrisy, the hypocrisy of our government right now. Some of the things that are going on. First and foremost, a lot of you have seen my post on Facebook and here on YouTube. All of those of you who have given me shit over the last year or so about Obamacare and told me how great it was going to be and that I was paranoid, that I was confused, that I was out of my mind, feel free to apologize at any time because apparently I was exactly right. It's become horrific. But I want to get to that in a second. Excuse me. I want to talk about a couple other things that are happening right now that you may not know about. Remember when the president was first elected and he went on what everyone called the apology tour, where he went to all these different countries and apologized for the U.S. being the U.S. Well, it was a horrible thing to have happen, but it looks like it just took a step further. I'm going to read this so I get it right. This is right off from Reuters. U.S. and Afghan officials reportedly have reached a tentative agreement on a critical security pact, which would include President Obama writing a letter to the Afghan people apologizing for the war on terror. According to Reuters, Afghan spokesman said Tuesday that Obama agreed to write that letter to be presented with the draft security pact at a meeting of tribal elders later this week. Now, here's the funny part. The New York Times is citing spokesman for Afghanistan, President Hamid Karzai, reportedly said that Secretary of State John Kerry proposed the letter. So John Kerry says, hey, what if our president, he has no backbone, what if our president were to handwrite and sign a letter, a signature from United States President apologizing for the war on terror? You remember terror? What happened on 9/11? Yeah, that's terror. The White House press secretary John Kerry was asked if it was true, and his answer to the press during the press briefing was, "We don't comment on presidential correspondence." What a moron. But you see, this is what we're doing now. Should we be apologizing to other countries for wanting our country to stay as it is? Yeah, we do some shady things, but let's be honest. They came over with airplanes and killed over 3,000 Americans. They slaughtered them. We should have paid them back harder than we are right now. A couple of days after 9/11, you could have nuked Afghanistan and Pakistan and no one would have blinked an eye. Yet we're trying to fight a politically correct war now, which is the dumbest thing in the world. It's, all right, I'm going to slap you. I'll give you a Band-Aid. I'll pay for your health care. Once you get yourself well, I'm going to slap you again. That's politically correct warfare. That's what we're trying to win, I guess. Now let's talk about the website. Nothing but problems since it started. If you've been watching reports on the news, or as I do, I have a sad life. I actually watch C-SPAN live because I don't want to hear what the news tells me. I want to hear exactly what's happening as it's being said. And those hearings are full of lies and blame games. Secretary Sebelius has been on the hot seat, and all she does is blame other people. Tries telling the world how great it is and how screwed up America is by thinking that Obamacare is broken. Yet they finally get her to admit it's broken. They finally asked them to answer some hard questions. They said the healthcare website would be fixed by this time this month. It's not. Now, there's a report out of Mount Pelier, which is in Vermont, that says, and I quote, officials overseeing Vermont Health Connection website confirmed Friday there was a security breach on the system last month. Not only did somebody breach the system, but they sent the information they stole, they sent letters to those people saying, hey, guess what, I just hacked it, here's all your information. There have been several hundred fake Obamacare websites that have already been shut down. The problem is they were started, and people were signing up giving all their medical information, all their financial information. Now, you got to remember, the IRS is running Obamacare, which means they will now have your health and your financial information. But I want to read some facts that came across on the wire today. It's 7 absolute 100% confirmed facts about Obamacare. The first one is Obamacare will cost taxpayers $1.8 to $2.6 trillion over the next 10 years. Does this come from some conspiracy website? No. It comes from the CBO, which stands for the Congressional Budget Office. This comes from Congress. Congress is saying $1.8 to $2.6 trillion over the next 10 years. I wonder how they're going to get that money. Number 2, at least 3.5 million Americans have already received health insurance cancellation notice. But it's about to get worse. See, so far, you and I have only seen the individual mandate. Now, that 3.5 is a little low. I believe it was 5 million, but no big deal. Because they're saying after the first of the year, when the business owner mandate, when the corporate mandate, you see, we've only seen individuals. Now you're going to have businesses that are forced to change insurance for their companies. There is an estimate out now by several credible sources saying that between 50 and 100 million people will lose their insurance after this comes out the first of the year. The Obamacare website has now cost taxpayers over $1 billion to build, and it's still not fixed. The New York Times says Obamacare will leave out 2/3 of poor blacks and single mothers. Number 5, tens of thousands of workers' hours and jobs have already been cut due to Obamacare. I think a lot of people have seen that. Hours going to 29 instead of what used to be 40, so they don't have to pay insurance. Premiums, which a lot of you have already seen this, premiums will rise by 99% for young men and between 55 to 62 for young women. It's from ABC News. Number 7, Obama has promised no less than 23 times that if you like your plan, you can keep it. I heard from a Democrat friend of mine who used to go back and forth and argue how King Obama was the savior of all. He now actually said that his copays for his medications will now cost him more than he makes in a month. This is what we voted for, right? And this is what we're standing aside and not doing anything about. It got to the point where the economy is so bad, the feds have actually talked about cutting interest rates again. And if that happens, you're going to love this next headline. Again, I'll read it right as it stands. United States banks warn the Fed that interest cuts could force them to charge depositors for deposits. You go to the bank with your paycheck, you expect all that money to go into your bank. The feds are saying if it keeps getting worse, they're going to start charging you money to put your money in their bank. So in other words, that $100 check isn't a $100 check anymore. Who knows what that rate's going to be? But again, it's your money going to somebody else after all the taxes you pay. And before sales taxes that you pay, you're going to pay the bank to take your money. Last thing I wanted to talk about tonight is a really fine line, because this story is an extremely fine line for me. See, it has to do with a pedophile who got caught with images on his computer. Now, I'm going to say this flat out. I think any pedophiles should not even stand trial. They should be slaughtered in front of people. Put it on the Ocho. Put it on C-SPAN. Put it on live television. You touch a child, your life should be ended immediately. But there's a story I need to talk about that kind of bothers me. See, there's a gentleman I'm not sure what state he is, and I'm going to protect his identity because who knows if he's not guilty. I don't want to get sued. But he was arrested for images on his computer, video and picture images of children in various positions. How was he caught? By the police? No. Google searched his computer. Now again, I want this man to die. I hope his soul rots in hell for eternity. But Google searched his entire computer. That friendly search engine that we all love to use, Google. I can't even say hacked him because as we sign up, we allow them to see everything in our computer. What do you have in yours? Probably not child porn, but maybe you have pictures you don't want someone to see. Maybe you have letters you don't want anybody to see. Maybe there's private information like, oh, I don't know, your finances or your health care. Well, Google has now proven that they have access to anyone's computer at any time. It's not like they searched his Google search accounts. They searched his hard drive. And as much as I want this guy to bleed from all the holes they put him in until he dies, we are now living in an age where we can't even trust to put stuff on our own computers because Google or whoever can now see it. There's a new PlayStation 4 and a new Xbox out, both with cameras. And they've already found that the companies and other people have been able to hack those cameras to invade your privacy in your own home. The camera I'm talking into right now can be hacked at any time. And I have to be honest, I did post something a while back where I got a letter from a organization that wasn't really happy with me posting. But I don't care. I have nothing to hide. Although I am certainly watching what's on my computer. This is the world we live in now. It used to be everything was so simple. We used to be the freest country in the world. We didn't negotiate with terrorists. Now we are giving them handwritten letters from one of our presidents apologizing for the United States being who they are. We don't have to agree with all the policies that we invoke, but we are the land of the free, kind of. We're still the home of the brave. I just don't know what's going to be next. Our liberties and our freedoms are really being lost. You don't have a freedom of privacy anymore. You don't have a right, to privacy anymore, because your cameras can go off at any time. Your internet can be searched. Not even internet, your hard drive can be searched. The NSA, National Security Agency, has just ordered Verizon to hand over millions of phone records from their clients. If you have a Verizon phone, yours could be, but I'm going to tell you what, it's not just Verizon, it's all of them. We used to have a right to privacy in this country. We used to have a freedom of speech. A lot of times we don't even have that anymore. We're being told that we must buy an insurance that we don't want under direct threat of penalty by the Internal Revenue Service, the people who make our lives hell to begin with. The countries around us hate us. We have a president that will not fulfill any of the promises he set out to do. Remember, he just signed a pact that would allow forces in Afghanistan for another 10 years. But remember, he won the Nobel Peace Prize for wanting to end all military action. Where do we go next? What doors have we opened? What more are we going to allow?